You know that boomer corny music gets everybody in the mood. It is an indication that we're about to come on the air. I know the young folks think it's boomer, and they're like, what is that? Sounds like a 1990s talk show. Well, yeah, we're going back. We're taking you back. So, you know, guys, we were supposed to have Joy Reid on today, and guess what happened at the last minute? She showed up. Here's Joy Reid.
Mustard.
Hi, Joy.
Hey, Don.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you, friend?
I'm doing very well. Everyone wants to know what's going on with you, and we're gonna we're gonna spill some tea, right?
Maybe a little tea. We'll see.
We're gonna spill some tea.
We'll
We're gonna talk about some stuff. You
We'll
look
see.
great, though. How do you feel? You feel good?
I am feeling good. You know, it's funny because so many people reaching out to me being like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?"
I know.
Like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I know.
You know how this is, right? And I think that I have a combination of feelings, and you will totally relate to this uniquely, Don. I miss my team. Like, the main thing that I miss is my people. Like, my readout people are like my family, not just the producers, my like 15, stalwart producers, but also my crew, because we're really tight and we still text and we're still in touch. I'm still in touch with my team members, but I miss them. I also feel for them because I don't like the position that they've been placed in, where they're having to reapply for their jobs.
Oh my God.
That is painful to me, because that's not the way it's ever really worked. I had a show canceled back in 2014. I had a show, Phil Griffin canceled my show, but I stayed on and I just moved on, and they got a new host, and it never really disrupted my team. So this has been very jarring. So that is painful for me. But myself, my main issue is not having a schedule and feeling a little discombobulated. And I'm so in the news cycle in my mind that I miss being able to like do the show and respond to the things and get in it, because it's a fight we're in as a society, as a culture. Our democracy is on fire, and I have a little bit of like, I want to get in this. So I've been channeling that into my Substack, channeling that into social media, so that I can
don't give too much away, because I want to talk about it at the end.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not at the end, after we do the news of the day. But I understand, and I'm going to tell you, I felt a lot of the things that you're feeling, so I can help you out a lot. We talk offline, but I'm going to talk online now. So don't give away what's going on, what's next for you. We have a big announcement for Joy. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about what happened at the MSNBC, what's going on in media, what's going on in everything, because you're such a smart journalist and analyst. I want to talk to you about what's happening in the breaking news, okay?
Yes.
On the news of the day. So let's start with this from Donald Trump.
I believe we'll get it done. Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
Okay, that's enough. Well, he was saying it. Oh, you know what? Let me hear it. Let me hear that, Andy, because he talks about Democrats. I forgot. Let's hear it.
Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it, and everybody knows it's right. And the Democrats know it's right, and I hope they're going to be voting for it, because ultimately it may come before them, but everybody knows it's right.
Yeah. And then Joy, real quickly, this is him actually signing it, and then we'll talk.
Should I do this?
Yes.
It was very lucky. I signed another document that turned out to be very good for the country, and I said, let's use that same pen. I don't know, is anybody superstitious? Ron, are you superstitious?
All right, that's good. Oh, listen, TikTok, Donna Laurie, you're right. Ooh, he signed it with kids around him. Joy, you have the floor.
First of all, Donald Trump, he's living his best life now, right? He's living his sort of best dictator life. In his mind, he's Vladimir Putin. He can eliminate federal agencies with his big baby magic marker and stuff. And the reality is, He can't do that. You can't get rid of a federal agency that was created by Congress with an executive order. You might as well sign an executive order saying that he's not really balding. He'd still be balding. Like, you might as well sign an executive order saying everyone must say Donald Trump is handsome. He'd still look the same. He'd still be, the portly, long tie gentleman that he is now.
Gentlemen, you're
You can
being
sign an
very
executive order
generous.
saying he weighs 180 pounds. He still weigh like 300.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of a federal agency like that. But you know what, Donald? Use your magic marker in good health. Enjoy yourself. Feel good about it.
Look, Joy, when someone in the chat, because I was thinking the same thing when we played it before when I was getting ready, and I said he signed it with kids around. He did the same thing with the trans athlete bill. Like, and then he did the same thing at the fake State of the Union. Why does he continue to use people as props?
Because I don't think that Donald Trump, and I'm taking this now not from my own. I did write a Trump book called The Man Who Sold America. It was a New York Times bestseller 4 weeks. And I did a lot of research into Trump. And also I've read Mary Trump's book about Donald Trump. And when you combine reading biographies about him and talking to a lot of people who knew Trump, some friends, some not so good friends, but who knew him, I don't think Donald Trump really sees other people as other than characters in the reality show in which he is the star. Right. I'm not sure he's capable of really seeing other people, if you know what I'm saying. Like, everyone else are just a props in his story. And they're either sworn enemies who hate Trump and he must destroy them because they prosecuted him and they must be destroyed, or they love Trump and therefore they are great, right? And they're a prop. And the reality, though, is Donald Trump really exists in some ways to fulfill his own dreams of becoming the most important, most powerful person in America, the most famous person in the world. But he also exists functionally to fulfill some of the longest running goals of the far right and the Republican Party. Just understand that the far right, particularly the Christian right, has opposed the creation of a federal Department of Education really since the 1920s and 1930s when this idea first came up. And in the 1920s, the far right Christians opposed it because they feared that it would change education from being a Bible-based enterprise in which local women would simply teach the Bible, out in little schools like Laura Ingalls Wilder type little schools, to something more formalized where you'd have a national education. This idea of nationalizing education frightens a lot of people on the right because they're afraid it will take out their ability to infuse conservative Christianity into education. Yeah. And also the far right, to be honest, has opposed the parts of the Department of Education that ban discrimination, both racial discrimination and now gender identity discrimination, something they really want to engage in when they want to, right? So the idea is that the Department of Education does not fund most public schools. Most public school funding comes from local property taxes. That's why rich people have better schools than poor people, because their property tax base is bigger. The Department of Education maybe provides 10% of public school funding. But what the Department of Education does is it enforces anti-discrimination rules that mean you can't discriminate against a trans kid. You can't discriminate by race. You can't discriminate against girls versus boys in school. That's what the Department of Education does. And that's what offends the right. That's why they've wanted to get rid of it since Jimmy Carter signed the law after Congress passed the creation of the department, which is why he said, well, it may come before the Democrats. No, it will, dude, because Congress has to vote to eliminate this department. You can gut it. You can fire everyone. You can ruin it. You can have that lady from WWE she and her husband apparently were looking the other way when people were being abused sexually. You can let that lady, allegedly, you can let that lady gut and destroy it. But all you're going to do is hurt disabled kids who have federally funded programs to help them, kids with who need speech therapy, kids who need other sort of accommodation because of disabilities, and you're going to allow more discrimination. That's all that you're going to accomplish with your pen, dude.
Joy, why are we here right now? When you think about it, and you talked about the origins, right, of opposing, or the beginnings of opposing a Department of Education. And a lot of it is based on religion and racism. And that's kind of the place that we're in, right? You were talking about the 1920s and 30s. We're still here. We're still there.
We are. We are, and it's interesting that many of our problems, many of the things that we're going through right now in the country are because of race and religion. You know that. You and I both know that it's complicated to be able to talk about that on cable news. It's not always welcome, but it's just true.
Oh my gosh, it's kind of crazy how okay, we have so much to talk about. Hold that thought, because I want to seriously, I want to get through the news today, and we're really going to have a talk. So you guys make sure you stick around. And let me just say this, Joy, because you're going to have to say this as well. We are joined today on the Don Lemon Show by the great Joy Reid, an exclusive, and she's going to talk about everything, the news of the day, and her departure from MSNBC and what she is doing. But make sure you hit the thumbs up and the like, because it affects the algorithm and more people get to become aware of our little, I shouldn't say little, our mighty, right? Lemonation, and become a member. It's important that you become a member, because that keeps us streaming in these independent streets. We don't have the big corporate sponsors, and we want to remain independent. And so we depend on the kindness of strangers, on the kindness of family. I shouldn't say strangers like you. So like, subscribe, and become a member. The membership link is at the top of the chat. Okay, so let's talk about Donald Trump. Went on Laura Ingraham, I believe it was night before last, as we say, and she talked to him about Canada, and I don't understand why he hates Canada. He's in love with Putin, but I was shocked. Yesterday, I played like 10 seconds of an interview with her, and I ended up doing like 20 minutes of a fact check that she couldn't do, and just from 10 seconds of her interview, right? And then she started keying it up at the end for like 4 or 5 minutes, just about Canada being the 51st state. Watch this.
Tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st state. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau,
oh my God.
His people were nasty, and they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that, they'd say, well, we don't charge. Well, they do. They charge tremendous. And if you look at dairy products, what they've done to our farmers, I'd go up to Iowa, I'd go up to different places, Nebraska, and they would always complain about Canada, how they get ripped off. Do you know that Canada has a 250% tariff? 250, nobody knows that. They charge us numbers that are crazy. We have a very big deficit with Canada, and there's no reason, much more, we have much more. Just so you understand, we subsidize Canada, and I like Canada. I love Canada. I love Wayne
now
Gretzky.
The Liberal guy,
I love his wife.
The Liberal Party is going to win now in the next election, most likely. And they were down and out. Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running.
So there was someone who said if they make Canada the 51st state, then the Republicans would never win again because they're so liberal up there, our neighbors to the north. But I mean, why would you, if you were sitting down doing an interview with Donald Trump, would you be normalizing it like that? Or I don't know.
I mean, it's absurd. First of all, Donald, Grampy Trump, let's talk. First of all, you can't make Canada the 51st state without going to war with them. And let me explain how that happened, how that worked out the last time we tried to go to war with Canada. They burned the White House to the ground in 1814 and won the war. Canada beat us in the War of 1812. They probably liked their chances against us. We're not going to beat them in a war because we have never been able to do that. You'd have to occupy a country that is equivalent of the size of the United States, in which the top 2/3 of it is uninhabited, frozen forest land that touches the Arctic. You know how that worked out when the Nazis tried that with Russia, which is the equivalent of Canada on that part of the world? We gonna lose. We don't have enough troops to occupy. They are a country of 39 million people who have about as many guns per capita as we do. They just don't have as many shootings.
That's going to say, why don't they have as many shootings?
Because it's a country where people hunt. People have a gun culture there as well. They're just not as gun crazy. They don't take their guns to Walmart, but they got a lot of guns. And they've beat us in a war before. So that's issue number one. You cannot absorb a country against their will. And this talk of making them the 51st state is absurd for the reason you said. If you did, it would be a country of roughly the population of California. Which party controls California? These are people who have universal health care, fewer, almost no school shootings. They are a country that's to our left. And also, in addition to the 2 senators they get, who'd both be Democrats, they would get like 50 members of Congress based on their population. You would essentially ensure Democrats never, ever won another election federally again. And then
Democrats or Republicans?
That Republicans never won again, because they would be a bunch of Democrats. You have a few Republicans, but it doesn't. But first of all, in order to even get there, don't entertain even that idea, because that's never going to happen without a war. They're also in NATO. And since we're backing out of NATO, doesn't that mean that Europe would come to the defense of Canada and we'd now be fighting NATO? Do we really want to be in a war? I thought he was the no more wars guy. You'd have to fight a war against a country that beat us in 1812.
They were supposed to be the candidates of peace. Remember that?
Yeah.
So Joy, I got to ask you, and I'm going to ask all the members, by the way, welcome to all the new members. Thank you so much for becoming new members. Welcome to the Lemon Nation, all of you. We appreciate it. So here's the thing, Joy. I'm afraid to look at my retirement. I don't know if you're afraid to look at yours. Remember, eggs were supposed to come way down. He was going to make us really, really rich within 24 hours in the wars in 24 hours. And it was going to be like manna from heaven, all of it. But something odd happened on the way to the store. Maybe a recession. Here it is. Watch.
Will we see a recession in 2025? Are you ruling it out?
We're going to have the strongest economic country in the history of the world, of the planet. We are taking.
Okay. Joy, it's like, this is the best view. You can see all of America in this view. And then on the other side of the town, they don't have this. And check out this balcony. What about this box? Who can put a box of Lemonheads on you know what I mean? It's just like he's selling. He
said, but also, can we walk back just for a moment to him saying they have 200% tariffs? Can we just stop it? You know how Donald Trump should know that isn't true? Because the first time he ran for president in 2016, he ran on ending NAFTA and going to end NAFTA. NAFTA was such a rip-off. We got ripped off. He renegotiated NAFTA. It was called the USMCA. He claimed it was the greatest negotiation in the history of the world. Dude, you renegotiated NAFTA, which is an updated NAFTA, USMCA. You know what the tariffs are between the US, Mexico, and Canada currently? And we're still living under Donald Trump's tariff regime for the USMCA. The tariffs are zero. It's a free trade zone. It's a free trade zone, man.
But
we don't have tariffs with Canada and Mexico. That's why we have a free trade zone between our 3 countries. That's the whole point of it. We don't have, we get to trade between our 3. There are 2 biggest trading partners, Mexico and Canada. Why is my dog grumbling? Go away, Nala.
Oh, no, we like the dog.
The dog is here and she's being a pain. But I'll just give you cars. Cars pass back and forth between Canada and Mexico 3 and 4 times before they're sold, because the parts will be made in Ottawa, and then there's a piece of the engine that's made in Mexico. We did that in order to create a free trade zone between our 3 countries. That's the reason we are a triad. It's Trump that's taking the tariffs from 0 to 25%, and he's destroying our economy. Just the threat. And then he puts the tariffs on and then takes them off. He puts them on, he takes them off. That's what's causing inflation. That's part of what's causing inflation to go up. Canada is retaliating by taking our liquor and our products off their shelves. they're retaliating and pushing the prices of energy up. And then when energy prices go up, the trucks that drive your stuff to Walmart and to the store, those prices go up. Trump is wrecking the economy. Things are getting more expensive. Housing is up. Food is up. Not just eggs, all food. Vegetables are up. We get most of our vegetables from Mexico and a lot of them from Canada. They're our two biggest trading partners. And then the next one is China, who he's also tariffing. So your video games are going to go up. Your TVs are going to go up. Your everything electronic is made in Asia, basically. A lot of our clothes are made in Asia. What are you doing, man? You're wrecking the economy for no reason other than that in your mind, you think you're William McKinley or James K. Polk, who were both expansionist presidents who conquered territory and did tariffs. If you want to be McKinley, know that he is one of the worst presidents we ever had in U.S. history. No one ranks McKinley in the top 10, the top 20, or even the top 30. He's a bottom 10 president, Trump, and you're trying to make yourself an even worse president than McKinley, who is not considered a successful president. Someone got in his head and said, you need to be William McKinley. That's the Gilded Age president. That's the president who went out trying to take territory and did tariffs, and they were a failure. 5 recessions during McKinley's, 5, that led into eventually the Great Depression.
Joy. I miss you so much. We miss you so much. We need more of that. Like, that's just off of the top of your head. I didn't even really discuss topics with you. I said we're going to do the news of the day, but I'm just saying, Joy, God, what a hole there is in So we miss you. And so thank you for coming on. Let me just thank you, friend, for coming on. Our viewership is really great right now. So I'll say like and subscribe. Thank you. We're going to talk about where Joy is going. We're going to promote her. But Joy, you're so great. I just miss it. I would tune in just to hear you be as smart as you are, just to be a badass bitch. I'm sorry.
I love you. Oh.
Okay. Let's see. What else do I want to talk? We don't want to Fox News in the bad market conditions. Let's see where we want to go. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do Lutnick. Because Joy, the illegality of it all, the illegality of it all. Imagine if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or did this, one of his people did this on national television, what would happen? Watch.
I think if you want to learn something on this show tonight, buy Tesla. It's unbelievable that this guy's stock is this cheap. It'll never be this cheap again. When people understand the things he's building, the robots he's building, the technology he's building, people are going to be dreaming of today and Jesse Waters and thinking, gosh, I should have bought Elon Musk's stock. I mean, who wouldn't invest in Elon Musk? You got to be kidding.
Joy, he's the Commerce Secretary.
This is insane.
That is not legal. He can't do that.
Hatch Act. The thing that's so crazy, Trump bought the Tesla in front of the White House, used the White House as a set for basically a Tesla commercial. It was a car lot, basically. It was a Tesla car lot. Yes. Come on down to the White House and get 50% off. We can offer you on your trade-in. No credit, no problem. We got you.
No, we know how bad the market is right now because we did it. We take
no credit, no job, no problem. What is happening? They have to pay their daddy, right? I mean, Trump has 2 daddies, and I thought he was again that, but he got 2. He got Vladimir Putin and he got Elon Musk. And he has to pay him. He has to pay him. This guy invested $250 million to buy the White House. And now he's eating up all the contracts he's done. Said, well, Verizon, I know you had that whole contract with the FAA, but we're going to move you aside and that's going to be mine. Mm-hmm. I mean, Doge is essentially in a position to just write him federal contracts, but apparently that's not enough. He's upset. And you've seen all these sort of sad, sort of freaked out interviews he's been doing about how Tesla is struggling. People are turning their Teslas in. I believe their sales are down 49% in Europe. Their stock is dropping. And this was the main source of Elon's Musk's wealth. By the way, his stock has dropped. The stock has dropped so much and sales are down so much. Starlink is now the main source of his wealth, not Tesla. And Tesla's long been the main source. Yeah, it's now Starlink has passed Tesla because it's dropping. But the reality is it's his own actions. You know, it's weird that people, it turns out, don't like it when you send your 20-something and 19-something super fanboys in to rip the government apart and take away U.S. aid money that was actually helping American farmers. It turns out Americans don't like it when you mass fire tens of thousands of federal workers who've done nothing wrong other than not hail Trump. People just don't like it when you do weird arm gestures. In Europe, they actually kind of think that's illegal and that you're referencing an era that they really don't want to remember and go back to. They get really upset, and Germans go, "We don't want your cars." And so the reality is his own actions and his own boosting of this sort of global apartheid movement, this far right-wing movement, it's pissing people off. And consumers, I thought Republicans and conservatives believed, I thought consumers had the right to make these choices. This is called capitalism. And when you mess your brand up and people don't want to buy your shit, that ain't on the consumer. That's on you.
Yeah. So Joy, you remember I did the interview with Elon Musk a year ago, and I put it up. That was the very first. That's how we kicked off the show. And I put we did it in segments and in chunks so that so people can consume it in a way that is palatable, because everybody's a short attention span now, right? Sure. And so we did 10 segments. We did like DEI. We did the future of Tesla, all kinds of things we talked about. And so one of the things I said, I responded to someone saying like controversy in politics are really, you have to be careful, because especially if you have a company, right?
Yes.
Because it can really affect your stock prices and the health of your company or your corporation. And right now, that's what he's dealing with. People don't like what he's doing politically. Right. A lot of people don't like, and it's obvious in what's happening. And I talked about the Tesla stock. But I do have to say, that interview really looked around the corner. It was prescient. If you look at all the things that we talked about in that interview are things that have come to fruition now, his meeting. But anyway, you can talk about that and about the company, because let me just show people what why Howard Lutnick is on there touting, a Tesla. This is what's happening around the country in regards to Teslas and such. Here it is.
If there's someone in one of these cars, they blow up. That can happen. That becomes murder, or worse, terrorism plus. And I know that on January 20th, the president signed into law, through an executive order, restoring the death penalty. Do you think this sort of thing, and I hate to think it, people leave their children and pets in cars. I mean, you don't know. This is deadly, dangerous stuff these liberal protesters are playing with.
Yes, it is, Harris. And what I can tell you is that President Trump condemns this violence, and he is determined to restore law and order in our country, and he will ensure that the harshest penalties are pursued for those who are engaging in this vicious violence that we have seen targeted at this American company, Tesla dealerships.
Okay, let me just say this. No one is condoning violence and that, but I mean, for me, you see that, and then January 6th, because, that was...
Yeah. That's where I was just going to go. So Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists, some of whom beat, tased, and nearly killed police officers. So he's saying that as long as you're doing it for Trump, you can brutalize police officers. And I thought the right, loved the police and backed the blue, but you can brutalize cops as long as you're doing it for Trump. But pieces of property. So, and I know, and you had this whole debate, which you won with Vivek Ramaswamy about it. This country was steeped in a love of property over humanity in terms of Black people being chattel slaves, meaning chattel like cattle, the equivalent of a cow, and that Black people were treated as things and objects, and the mania for property and the attempt to hold on to that human property is what drove the South to secede from the Union, out of fear that Lincoln would take their property, their human property away. America has always been a country that put property over people, property over humanity. The idea now that they're talking about a death penalty for burning a car. First of all, if you burn a car you bought, it's kind of like when the right were like burning like their Barbie dolls because they didn't like the black Barbie in the movie.
Their
You
coffee
kind of
maker and stuff, and they were shooting beer cans.
yeah, and it's like if you already paid for the Barbie and you burn it, I mean, you kind of just burned your own stuff. But if that's the way you want to protest, have at it. Is that going to be a death penalty crime now to burn a vehicle? That is taking a devotion to Elon Musk to a level that is actually insane. I mean, of course, if you burned a car with a person in it, that would be murder, but that wouldn't be murder against the car company. It wouldn't be a crime against Tesla. It would be a crime against the people in the car.
Yeah.
And no one's condoning that. But the idea now that they're essentially trying to, I guess, make it illegal to be against Tesla, to say that, they've already gone a pretty far way in saying they're going to make it illegal to protest for Palestine. They're going to call you a terrorist and they're going to deport you. They've got a gentleman who is literally disappeared. He just wrote a letter from, where he's locked up in Louisiana, where because he led protests for Palestine. So apparently that's illegal. But now I guess it's also illegal to be against Tesla, and the government is going to now essentially use the mighty power of the U.S. federal government to try to boost car sales for one company. This is not what America is supposed to be, right? It was founded as sort of an oligarchy, but is this where we are now, that we're going to now have the federal government forcibly protect one company above all other companies? At what point do they then step in and say only Grok AI is legal? Open AI, you can't use that. We're going to say that you must use his AI. He's already trying to bully advertisers to advertise on X Twitter, which they don't want to because they're Nazis on there. But they're using this sort of leverage power to force Tesla to continue to be profitable. And that, to me, feels like a complete distortion of what the U.S. is supposed to be.
So here's the thing, and you heard it. I don't know if people heard it clear enough. No one is condoning that. And if someone is caught burning a car, then whatever it is, under the law that they're should face, then I think they should face it. Not like January 6th, where you go in and right. you tear up the Capitol, and then you get pardoned. Here's the thing, though. If this was a company that he deemed to be liberal, he would say, well, that's what happens to the liberals, or that's what happens to the liberals and they deserve it. Just like he, called the NBA players sons of bitches, saying that he didn't like what they were doing. What about Target? What about DEI and Target? Like, he's not, they made all of those companies get rid of that. He didn't say that when they boycotted Bud Light.
Right. And the right does boycotts all the time. They boycotted the Barbie movie.
You go woke, you go broke.
Go woke, you go broke. So what we're now saying is that there's a protected class of Americans who can boycott things, who can raid the Capitol, ransack the Capitol. And by the way, it's not even just pardoning the January 6th insurrectionists. It's Donald Trump threatening to prosecute the people who prosecuted those people, holding over their heads and prosecute them. Maybe Jack Smith needs to be prosecuted for daring to investigate Trump's role in it. Like, literally saying it's illegal to do anything that displeases Donald Trump, and it's illegal to do anything that hurts the bottom line income of Elon Musk. So these two men are super citizens, and it is illegal to displease them. That is the most un-American thing I've ever heard. And if that's where we're going, then we are not a democracy anymore.
Here is Elon Musk on Fox News.
It's really come as quite a shock to me that there's this level of really hatred and violence from the left. I always thought the left, or Democrats, were supposed to be the party of empathy, the party of caring.
I thought that the left was supposed to be the party of empathy and caring.
Wait, I want to ask you all the entire thing. Don't we have a longer thing? That's Brian. I love Brian Tyler Cohen.
Yeah, we do.
Don't we have the longer version of that? Yeah.
Yeah, here's another clip.
Yeah, thank you.
In one of your dealerships in Vegas. I've seen this happen all over the country. Bullets are being fired. Charging stations are put ablaze. Teslas are being put ablaze. You have experienced assassination, threats of assassination for you and your family. What have you done that warrants this? Because I see nothing that you have done except help our country.
Yeah, I mean, it's really come as quite a shock to me that there's this level of really hatred and violence from the left. I always thought the left, or Democrats, were supposed to be the party of empathy, the party of caring, and yet they're burning down cars, they're firebombing dealerships, they're firing bullets into dealerships, they're just, smashing up Teslas. Tesla is a peaceful company. We've never done anything harmful. I've never done anything harmful. I've only done productive things. So I think we just have a deranged, there's some kind of mental illness thing going on here, because this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, again, that should not happen. People should not be burning cars or setting fires to whatever. But there is a coordinated effort going on between a company, right? Someone who has contracts with the U.S. government and the White House. It just, to me, it is weird. Perhaps they should have maybe Marco Rubio or somebody, or Pam Bondi. I don't know, somebody going out, or different police commissioners in states if they want to do it. But it's like coming right from the White House, going straight to state-run media at Fox News and being pumped out to the masses.
To protect the president's largest donor, whom he has unleashed to tear up the federal government with no congressional oversight. And by the way, Elon Musk saying Tesla is a peaceful company that's never done anything wrong. Sir, Tesla was sued by multiple employees for racial discrimination, with allegations such as blacks were segregated inside of their facilities and subjected to racist hatred, including being called the N-word at work, to the point where multiple people sued and went to the EEOC. And there was actually a federal investigation of Tesla, which of course has gone away now that Trump is here, along with the investigations into safety issues at Tesla. And the bottom line being here, that when I saw the other day, and I'm sure you saw this, Don, that Donald Trump signed another order that rescinded the rules that say that federal contractors cannot engage in segregation.
Yeah.
We've had an anti-segregation executive order on the books since the Lyndon Johnson era.
Yeah.
Donald Trump rescinded that. Why in the year of our Lord 2025 would you rescind an executive order banning segregation? The only company that I have heard about that is a federal contractor that's been accused, and I'm not saying convicted, but accused of practicing racial segregation at its workplace is Tesla. And so it felt, when I saw it, people have been sending it to me all day saying, oh my God, they're reinstituting segregation. It's in federal contracting. They no longer bar a federal contractor from engaging in segregation. And that would mean racial, gender, or gender identity segregation. Why would you do that? To me, it makes me think maybe it's a way to get around what were federal investigations of Tesla. I don't have evidence of that. I'm not saying that as a fact. I'm just saying that that's the only company I've heard of in my adult lifetime, past the civil rights movement, past when Woolworths used to do it, that's been even accused of practicing segregation. And I'm not saying that everyone at Tesla was doing that. I'm sure there are lovely people who work there. They just work there. It's not their fault that that the owner of their company has decided to become hyper political and far right. But people react when you're seeing your government destroyed by one individual. And he very famously purchased, he didn't invent Teslas. He's not the super genius who made Teslas. It's two Americans, not a South African. Two American-born engineers created Tesla. He bought it. But the fact that that's the most prominent thing he owns is why people are reacting against the cars. And again, if you burn a car you paid $80,000 for, that probably wouldn't be my choice, because my children need that money. But if that's what your protest is and you own that vehicle and you want to set that sucker on fire, I can't say you can't do that if that's your form of protest. As long as no one gets hurt or killed in the process, that's your protest.
But don't do it on the showroom or at the
No,
dealer.
don't hurt anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I think protest, and look, I believe that King had the model, right? The model was peaceful protest. The model is don't hurt anybody. And that's why you and I are against January 6th insurrection. If they wanted to march around the Capitol and say they thought the election was stolen with no evidence but whatever, if they wanted to believe that, they had a right to do that. They could have marched to the Capitol and yelled and screamed and made all sorts of noise. But busting in the doors and threatening to hang Mike Pence and threatening to hunt down Nancy Pelosi, that ain't a protest anymore.
Yeah. And by the way, if you want to, I talked about the discrimination at Tesla plants as well in the interview a year ago. And here we go.
And he went all over the place. That's the other thing that I felt was so important about your interview. And I, just to give you a little praise right now, my friend. That interview, as you said, it was the first hint, because I personally had never heard Elon Musk talk. I had never paid much attention to him. I was not a super fan, like a lot of people are like big time fans of Elon Musk. I never was. I never was that impressed. But that was the first time I'd heard him speak in an extended way. And I was kind of shocked at how incoherent he was in that interview, how little sense he was making. He was not answering your questions, and he was all over the place and seemed really offended that you were asking him what were really smart and probably he should have been able to anticipate journalistic questions. And he didn't seem to want to deal with any of it, especially the race stuff. He didn't want to deal with it at all.
Yeah. Well, I will say in that interview, what I will say about it is that I didn't ask him much. Maybe one or two things that he hadn't spoken about in public himself.
Right.
Before. Especially the ketamine stuff he had already spoken about. That's why I asked him, how would I even know?
How would you even know?
Unless he talked about it. So yeah. And and most of the things were public, and he talked about TBI and planes and Duke University. And after that, a couple of those things, Duke University came out and others saying, we have not lowered our medical standards in medical school. We haven't, none of this is true. Okay, moving on though. I was going to ask you about Steve Bannon, but I want to talk to you now. So what's up, Joy? Here we go, y'all. Y'all ready? Joy, I had like 2.5 hours sleep last night. I was in here working on. I'm trying to fancy up my little home studio, and I was up working all night trying to get this camera to work. And then Tim comes downstairs at 4 o'clock. He goes, Don, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. I'm working. Leave me alone.
Well, I went to bed an hour before you, so tell Tim it's not just you. It's me, because Jason and Tim could have a group chat. Like, they might need a group chat. I think our hubbies need a group chat.
I can barely complete. When you get, I'm so tired. I used to have to go on TV like this, and now I'm here. I can't even put two sentences together. But Joy, what the hell happened? What happened?
Should I turn the light on? It's like the light. Why is it sunny where you are and dark where I am? Isn't that weird?
Oh, it's just I was working on my lighting last night. I got diffusers and all kinds of stuff.
I'm turning my light on.
All right.
It's so dark. Okay.
See, now the light's coming on. We're fixing to we fit to find out what happened.
Turn the lights on.
So Joy, what happened? Because I thought you were going to be there. There was reporting. I understand you can't go into specific on certain things because we have contractual obligations.
That's right.
People. And sometimes people are like, well, why haven't you found a job yet? We have like non-competes and shit. Like, you guys have no idea what's happening. So we have to make our own way in this world in a way where we can still collect our coins and have other coins on top of that. So Joy, what happened at the MSNBC?
Because weirdly enough, the car note people still want their money.
I know. And the mortgage
people are like, we still gonna need that money.
Yeah.
We still need to pay. Right. And I think it is funny because I think people assume that if you're on TV, you're like independently wealthy and you don't have to pay bills. No, we still have to pay bills, y'all. It's a job. It's a normal job. So, it was a surprise. I will say that. I think I can, without violating any terms of my contract, I think I can say that I was surprised because a week before any of this happened, the last communications I was having with, the PR folks at work were that we had won the NAACP Image Award for the readout for the show. And that I'd won for the book from Edgar and Murley as well. But that, we just won an NAACP Image Award literally for the readout. And it was we were really super proud of it because it was the Brittany Griner interview was what we submitted to NAACP Image Award. And I felt like that interview and being blessed to have her choose us to to do her first interview when she came out of that Russian gulag where she had been locked up for this nightmare. And I know you and I both read that book, and it was just a terrifying ordeal.
Mhm.
And so we were really proud. And I was very proud of what the things we were doing on the readout that stepped out of the basic. You know, we tried to really go deep on history, go deep on things that aren't comfortable to talk about, like Christian nationalism, white Christian nationalism, which really is plaguing our country. And when I would do that, I didn't do it from a point of view of, hey, this is the black lady talking about white Christians. I would have on Robbie Jones, who is my friend from Public Religion Research Institute, the foremost scholar on white Christian nationalism, and himself a white Christian. Like, we really tried to be smart about doing deep dives on things that you see in the news and you're like, why is that happening? And try to make connections for people. So I really genuinely didn't see it coming. None of my team did. And this leak happens the night of the sort of, I think it was the Friday night, this leak just dropped. Dylan Byers, former CNN former CNN guy who now does a Substack, I think, drops this leak. And we were just like, and I'm thinking that doesn't even seem right, because I really just re-signed my contract. So, you know, I just signed again this year. So I couldn't really tell you. I can't explain what happened because I can't get in the heads of my bosses. But then I got the confirmation that Saturday, and that was that.
Yeah. So look, I'd never said this, but I'd just gotten the White House Correspondents' Dinner invitation from, from management to go. And it's like, okay, this is cool, whatever. And then let's see, Tim was out of town at a conference, and I was sitting in a restaurant by myself, and the monitors were on, and they made an announcement about Charles and Gail. And I'm like, well, that came fast out of nowhere. That was really rushed.
Right.
And then I went back to work after that weekend, and that's when I went to work on a Monday, and then they called me after I was had already gone to work.
Wow.
And someone called me from the team, one of the crew guys, and said, I wanted to tell you on Monday, I was wondering why they had taken your name off the wall of the studio.
Wow.
With all of and I didn't even know it. So other people knew before I did.
Wow.
Which was,
I think the only reason other people, quote unquote, kind of knew before I did is because that leak, and I'm very anti-leak. I don't leak. I try to be very careful about it. We're journalists, so we know not to talk to journalists. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very careful about that.
Yeah, you were I was like, Joy, what's going on? I'm hearing things.
I wouldn't leak to Don, and Don is my friend in real life.
You will not leak. She wouldn't say. I was like, Joy, what's going on? Talk to me. She goes, oh, I'm good. I'm like, okay.
I promise you all, Don, like I said, we are friends, and I was like, I wouldn't even leak to Don. Like, that's how I don't leak. I just don't do it. So when that leak came out, members of my team who read Puck or who were subscribed to it saw it and started panicking because, it was so out of left field and out of the blue. And again, because we had just won the award and everything seemed so fine that, there was nothing that had happened, nothing that had presaged it. So it definitely was out of the blue. And like you said, what happens is it starts to become a rumor, and you're not sure whether the rumor is real until you get the actual phone call saying it's real. And so you don't know really how to respond to it in advance of that. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I think that, it's not the way I would have done things, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, you can't respond, like, contractually, you can't respond.
I cannot.
We're not supposed to talk to the media, right? And so,
right. And I don't.
Which actually, I believe, puts corporations or companies in a position. I think, well, it puts the employee in an unfair position because we can't defend ourselves. And then if you do defend yourself, they'll say, oh, you're leaking or shouldn't be talking and you violated your contract. And it's like, and a lot of the things that you read, most of what you read has been planted by people. And it is not necessarily true, but the people who write the first draft gets to write the narrative, because everybody else, the reporters are lazy. They just go and they write the same story over and over. They don't even call for a comment. And it's like, and even if they do, you're like, I can't talk about it. So they end up believing what other people have planted and leaked about you, whether it's other people or whether it's a company or whether it's a PR, whoever it is. I'm just saying, I'm not saying.
Don't know. Yeah. Because no one knows where they come from. I mean, only the
where they come from.
I don't know.
In order to get, let me be real. You want to get rid of a black woman at a company. I'm just saying, any company. You want to get rid of a gay black man at any company, you have got to come up with a narrative and a predicate to do it, and you have to try to destroy them in order, because then you don't want people going, well, they're going to sue us for racism, and they're right. No, you have to try to destroy their personality and their credibility, and that's all I have to say. And I'm going to tell it like it is, okay? And so I don't like that. I don't like it when that happens to people. I just think it's unfair. So I'm telling you, I'm not bitter. I don't think you're bitter, but just don't believe everything you read. And I wish the best for my colleagues at CNN. I love them. I miss them terribly. But the truth is the truth, and the truth will make you free. That's all I have to say. You didn't say it, I did.
I have no comment further about it. All I can really say is that one of the things that I do, that I have to say, and I think it is important to say, is one of the great things about MSNBC that I will say something really positive is that the way that we all moved as friends, Rachel, Nicole, Alex, Steph Rule, Lawrence, the beloved Lawrence. We actually dig each other. Like, we actually really like each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can't fake that, and I think it's so important that people understand that the on-air chemistry that you saw, Chris Hayes, all of us, when we're sitting around that set, and all chilling, that was real. Like, we actually didn't fake that. You know what I mean? Like, we really are cool. We're actually still cool. We're friends. It's a thing that is like a magic that can happen when executives are picking random people, right? And they're people who come from all different walks of life. We're different political parties, different political ideologies. It is actually a science and an art to put those people together and have them actually have chemistry, right? Like, you and I have chemistry because we know each other and we're cool and friendly. You can't invent that. Like, you couldn't make us pretend to be friends. You see what I'm saying? Right, I have to give the company it was, and at least in my era, it was Phil Griffin who was in charge at that time. But whatever. It just, I feel like there was a magic that definitely happened at MSNBC that somehow caused all these very different, unique people to just have this great bond. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm very proud to have been a part of that. I'm very happy to have been be able to experience that in my professional life. Yeah. Because I think that's a cool thing. I'm still friends with some of my people from Radio 1 back in the day. You know what I mean? Some of my Radio 1 people, I'm still with them as well. Like, when you create those kind of relationships, Rev is my big brother, then I knew him when we were on radio. So it's like,
I'm doing something for him for the NAND conference.
Yeah, exactly. Katie Fang, that's my girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's like and even people who used to be there, Tiffany Cross, that's my sister. It's like, Melissa Harris Perry, that's my sister. Like, we've created these relationships that are real. And I think it's important to know that that's real. And don't feel like you were played to the left over the last, was I there 14 years? You weren't. We really were cool.
Yeah, and I do have to say, look, when you work at an organization like a CNN and MSNBC, it really is an honor and a privilege to have been there. And it was great, like the best in the world. Yeah. CNN, it's like, if something happens internationally, it's over.
Listen,
MSNBC cannot compete with that. You know that, right?
Listen, Christiane Amanpour, I'll make it. I never met Christiane Amanpour until last year. Our show, we got nominated for an Emmy. I was so excited. So we went to the News Emmys, and Christiane Amanpour was there, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm like such a stan. Like, the way people would be if they saw Beyonce, that's how I am when I met Christiane Amanpour. I was like that the first time I met you. So you don't remember. I stand out on you. The first time I met you, David Wilson introduced us at an event, and I hope you don't remember because I was embarrassing. I said, oh my God, Don Lemon, I'm such a big fan. You're probably like, get out. You're like, who are you, crazy weirdo? But I was like, Don Lemon, oh my God.
No. I'm old. I've been around. No, Joy, I've just been in awe of you, and I watch your show and I just go, wow, this is so well produced, and you were so bold, and I know people would get upset. And so look, I have you, and we're going there, and people are going to write about it and talk about it. Did it have anything, let's just say yes or no. I don't want to answer. Do you think there was any racism involved?
I have no evidence of anything. I don't know. Okay. I have no evidence. No.
Do you think it was your support of Palestine? Not that you were anti-Israel, but was it, you think that had anything to do with it?
I have no idea. Like I said, I refuse to try to get into the brains of other people. I don't know. I genuinely have to be honest. I'm not making this up. I'm not spinning. I have no idea. I think they made a decision. The decision has been made. That's all I can say. People made a decision. The decision's been made. I don't know why.
I don't want to get you in trouble because I'm always the one to get in trouble. So I'm used to that's my daily existence. Okay. The other thing is, can we talk about, because we love them, right? And they replaced you with some very talented people, and we love Simone. She's a friend, right? And we love Michael. And so this has nothing to do with them, Jonathan, or any of the other folks who are still there, right? We wish them well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I had a show in 2014 called The Reid Report that was canceled.
I remember. It was you and what's his name? Oh my, Ronan Farrow.
Ronan was right. Roro. We call
your lead in, right?
Where Roro was I think I was his lead in.
You were his lead in.
Me and we used to do this handoff. We used to want to go on Watch What Happens. We were like, we need to be on. Like they need to book us on Watch What Happens because we were such a sitcom, because our handoffs became more and more extravagant. Oh, Joy, my friend, you are the light of my life. Oh, Ronan, you're the most brilliant young person I've ever met in my life. Like we started once we started realizing how funny it was to people, we just started racking it up. I don't know why no one ever booked us on Watch What Happens. It really should have been. It really should have been.
Alex was on that same thing. Was she your lead? There was someone. It was you, Alex.
No, because so the lineup used to be, because Alex Wagner was the noon show.
Right.
So Alex was at noon. I was at 2, because remember the Tam Fam, before Tam was in the Tam Fam, Tam was the 2 o'clock.
Oh my
Tam
God.
went to the Today Show, and she was such a huge supporter of why I got the 2. She was one of the people that really believed in me and supported me, that I got the 2 and replaced her. So then it was Alex Wagner. She did the noon, and Michael Steele used to be a regular. I met Michael Steele on Alex Wagner's show, because he was a regular guest. And so I used to spar with Michael Steele on there. She was the 12. I was the 2, and Martin Bashir. Remember Martin Bashir? Martin was the 4, who was my other big supporter. And then the 5, and my buddy, I'm still buddies with Martin. And then the 5 was, of course, Hardball, which was on the air. Believe it or not, I think Hardball was on there for like 20 years. That was like the longest running show on MSNBC was Hardball. So back in the day, that was the Dayside lineup.
I love it. I think it was it was SNL that used to do how about a hardball? Like,
how about a hardball? And it's funny,
a hardball.
People used to compare me to Chris when I used to be on radio, because I also go ha, and so people would, whenever I would do that, people would be like, "Oh my God, you're the Black woman, Chris Matthews." And it's just ironic that he really became a mentor to me. I do absolutely love Chris. He is a character. Like you would have to invent that character if he didn't exist. Like he just is a character.
Can we talk about the girl power? And I don't mean that as a pejorative, calling you girl, but between you and Rachel and, oh my gosh, why can't I'm having Nicole, you guys were just the most brilliant, and you had chemistry all together. It was fantastic.
Again,
you had a progressive, you had a conservative, and then Rachel is progressive or whatever, and so in the middle. But what was that like working with, especially such a powerhouse like Rachel?
It was so fun, and just being able to watch her work, because I knew we were friends and we were friendly, but it's like we really got to watch her work up close. Her process, her process is like intense. Like she's like Rhodes Scholar brilliance. She's in there typing, and we got to watch her do it. And of course, me and Nicole are cutting up, trying to distract her while she's trying to type her opus. But no, it was one of those things. Again, I give Phil credit. I'm gonna give Phil Griffin credit. It was his brainchild, and then Rashida Jones expanded it and added the full table. But it was one of those things that either would have really worked or it would have bombed. You know what I mean? Like you're taking 3 people, and it's weird because, I knew who Nicole Wallace was because I quit the news business when I used to work at WTVJ, the Miami affiliate, because I was against the Iraq War. And I went and took Wellstone action training, the same training that Tim Walz took. I think he took it the year after I did. And I went and I worked as a press secretary for America Coming Together, which was George Soros' $260 million to try to oust George W. Bush, because I was deeply anti-war. Nicole Wallace was a big deal in the Bush campaign in 04. So we literally fought on opposite sides of that war. That's how opposite we were. Then
was she the
went and
press
worked-
person or just an advisor? Wasn't she
She
press?
was an advisor. I think at that time she was on the press side, but I know I had heard her name. So I think because we were both press, but I was so low level, you know, she was way high above me. Then of course she went in the Bush White House. And so she was a very well-known, and she would be always on the shows. You'd see her. So I knew who Nicole Wallace was, but we didn't meet until she came to MSNBC. And then of course, Rachel is this, you know, sort of luminary who came from Air America. She was on the radio. I used to listen to her show. And so it's like, it's this interesting thing where you take these three very unlike people who are very different, and you just throw them together and just see what happens. And at first, Brian used to be the fourth wheel, and then it was just the three of us.
Right.
Remember, it used to be the three of us, and Brian was and then he was at this other table, and Brian is so funny.
You know, Brian does impressions. I have a Brian. I haven't done it in a long time.
Okay, do it. Do your Brian Williams. You have to do it.
When Brian was, I worked at the NBC station. Oh, I worked with Brian. At first, I was at the network NBC in New York, and I was a correspondent in the New York bureau. And I would fill in on MSNBC and on Weekend Today show. And then and I remember Soledad and David were the anchors then.
Oh my God.
And then I was there when David Bloom died. And then, you know, Katie came in and whatever, and they woke me up in the middle of the night and said, David Bloom died. You should be prepared to whatever when you come in. So, I mean, that was a long time ago, right?
Wow.
So I've been
That's
around for a while.
time.
But I used to do Brian because Brian, good evening. we would joke about when he was in Katrina. It was just a joke. This isn't real.
Yeah.
And so we would put our leg up on the desk and like we'd say, good evening. It's hot. It's wet. I'm wearing breathable khakis and I'm surrounded by black people. I love
that is
Brian.
so good.
Good
Oh,
evening. We come to you tonight from New Orleans. It is hot. It's wet. And I'm surrounded by black people.
that is amazing. Like, actually, that is the most amazing thing
Brian,
I've
I
ever
love you.
I love Brian. Can I just tell you, when at that time that you were working with Brian used to come down every so often. Sometimes the big wigs would come to WTVJ when I was working in local news. Brian was the one guy who would come in and he would talk to everybody.
Yeah,
he was so friendly.
like
And
that.
I was a digital producer at the time. So I was the lowest of the low. No, I was like nobody. And he would walk right up to my desk and say, I can't do the voice. Hello, young lady. What do you do? And he was so nice. Like it was one of those things where you knew who this was. So you're like, this very famous person could either be really nice or they could be really an asshole. He was super nice. And he was nice like that to everybody. So I love Brian Williams. He was a hoot.
You know, the first person I really, Tom, I was there when Tom Brokaw was there. I used to file stories for nightly news and on the weekend because I was the new guy. Remember John Siegenthaler? He was I'm old. Damn.
Look, I'm old and I'm old and I'm also a geek. The other time I geeked out, in addition to yourself, is when I finally met Ted Koppel, because Ted Koppel is the person who got me interested in news in the first place. Because in the 6th grade, I'm aging myself, when the Iran hostage crisis happened, I was watching a show about it, and they were calling it was like the 360-day, it wasn't called Nightline yet, but they were just covering it. And Ted Koppel was covering it on ABC News. And I got so obsessed with it. I was like, Mom, can I stay up and watch this? And she was like, okay, it's news, so you can do it. And I would sit up every night. I would watch the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock news, and I would stay up and watch Nightline. And Ted Koppel was like my entry into fascination with news. It's how I knew who Bibi Netanyahu was and how I got really interested in Middle East issues, is that I would watch Bibi Netanyahu and Hanan Ashrawi, who was the leader of the Palestinian, right? Hanan Ashrawi. And I've actually now gotten to like text with Hanan Ashrawi, and I was like bugging out because I'm such a fan. But like, I would. And so Bibi Netanyahu to me was this guy who'd be on nightly, on ABC. I'd see him with Ted Koppel debating Hanan Ashrawi, and so it's like it's one of those things where if you're a news nerd, like these are your celebrities, you know what I mean? So when I finally met Ted Koppel, I go up to him. He was inside 30 Rock. I see him standing there. This was ahead of the 2012 election. And I'm at the Griot. I was managing editor of the Griot. And I go up to him and I said, oh my God, Mr. Koppel, I'm such a huge fan. I tell him the story of how he got me interested in news. And he said, well, thank you so much, young lady. And look at your dimples. Those are priceless.
You're like, oh my God.
He complimented my dimples. I'm like, I feel kind of seen.
We all have little stories like that. I remember I grew up idolizing Brian Gumbel, right? Brian's going to be mad at me, but because he's going to say, you make me seem old. I grew up idolizing and wanted to be him. I would watch the Today Show with him and Jane Pauley, and then him later with Katie.
Too.
And I would record the opens to their show, and I would mimic them back, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And those are the stories. This Monday, July 25th, 1991. And then they would go, dun, 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 and I was like, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to be like Brian Gumbel. And now Brian is like a really good friend. I went to dinner with him the other night. It's amazing to just have had the experiences that we've had in this business and more to come. And when you're in this independent business, so tell us, when you're in this independent journalism business, what's up? What's next for you? Where can we find you?
So right now you can find me at joyannereid.com. That is my Substack. I'm writing a daily read, R-E-I-D. You see what I did there? It's it's a read pun. I'm always got a read pun. I try to keep my husband's name out there. But yeah, I'm doing the Substack right now and writing that every day. And I'm obviously still doing all my social media, but I am planning to do something like what you're doing right here, sir. And one of the things that I love about what you're doing, and I really enjoy, I am a Lemonhead with all of the rest of the Lemonheads out there. And because I think that this format is so smart and it is so accessible to people. And this is the future, right? Like, this is where it's going. And all we got to do is get my godmother and the other seasoned citizens to figure out how to use YouTube. And we in there.
Oh my God. It's a learning curve. It really is a learning curve, but people will find you. Let me just tell you, you're going to do really well because you've got the personality, you've got the name recognition. You can do it. And you've got the gumption to be able to do this, right? As a young kid say, aura, you got aura. So I think you're going to do really well. If I can offer you some advice.
Please, I need it.
Don't think about it too much. I had to wait a little bit before I could even do something. And so don't like try to make it perfect, too perfect. Don't let perfect, be the enemy of the good. Just jump into it and do it. People like who you are. They like you like this in the t-shirt, no makeup or whatever. They love it. So just do it. I started off, I spent a ton of money on a studio and lights and cameras. And my audience was like, no, we like you. I'm in my dining room right now.
Yeah.
They're like, we like you at home. And then, when it's cold in the winter or whatever, I do it in front of the fireplace in my living room. So just do what you want to do, but don't wait too long. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I would say to you, you've got to be fearless. You cannot give a fuck what people think about you, about what you're doing, because a lot of the folks who are, in other places don't understand where this whole thing is going. And one day they're going to have to end up doing this. I feel late to the party already. And so, you know what I'm saying? And pretty soon,
I do too. Right. And
it's going to be like people coming out. They're like, oh, well, nobody coming out. Nobody cares anymore. But so do it. Get in now. The water is good. Get in.
Absolutely. And my husband is in a big I told you so on this, because he's been saying for years that this is like the future. This is the thing. But, like I said, you and I both, we came from, we both have done radio. I came from talk radio. I came from local news. I come from this.
I used to do Tom Joyner, remember?
Yes, I used to listen to you on Tom. That's why I came up to you like a geek with David Wilson, because I used to listen to you. But it's like these experiences, I actually think are great preparation for this, because radio to me is the most equivalent to both cable and this, right? Yeah. Because talk radio, and what I used to love about talk radio, and shout out James T. Thomas, my mentor, James T., who I worked for, and I was his producer, and then I became his co-host, and he's just a huge and wonderful mentor to me. And the reality is, what I love the most about talk radio, and I think what you love the most about doing this, Don, is the interaction with the listeners. Because we used to take calls. Baby, I used to love to take a call, especially the crazy ones. Right. Like some people used to call us and we would just debate them back and forth, and it was just so interesting. But
you can do it now. Look at your screen. Do you see what's on your screen?
I can barely see it because my screen is small where I'm looking.
Well, the comments are right here. It's like, and you're right. This is it's like radio.
Yeah.
You have to, you're going to have to come up with things. People are like, it's so easy when they come off of traditional TV or whatever. They'll say, it's so easy. I used to do TV live 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm like, it's not that easy.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. You don't have 3 producers to do and hair and makeup and someone putting on your light. And you walk into a studio that's already lit with camera equipment and production people. You know what I'm saying? It's not that easy.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, Don, and I'm just going to say there's a difference between the men's and the women. Baby, I'm going to have hair and makeup on, though. I'm not going to add hair because I took off my hair. But, baby, we going to be made up. You know what I mean? I'm on my day off today. That's why
There's nothing. No
and we
makeup.
friends. So I'm like, we cool like that. But, I'm going to have to probably get some hair and makeup.
Well, you look good. Don't overthink it. But I love you. You're going to be great. And congratulations. I'm sorry it had to happen this way. And you know, I can relate, but you're good. You're going to be good, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And look, you and I think you feel the same way because I feel like what you did at CNN paved the way for me. There haven't been too many Black folks who've been able to do it. We now do have, 2 sisters that are doing it at CNN. Abby Huntsman, my soror, is doing it as well. And so, but it's new, right? I remember the first time I met Gwen Ifill in 2015. I was in Selma covering the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and I saw her across the street. And just like how I love Bryant Gumbel too. I can just picture you were in New Orleans and I was in Denver, and we were both at home watching the same Today Show episodes,
Right.
and at the same time, I just didn't know we would ever be friends. But Gwen Ifill was the only Black woman. She was one of only 2 Black women. Carol Simpson and Gwen Ifill were the only Black women I really ever saw, and the only other person of color was Connie Chung. So I loved all 3 of them. And I remember Gwen Ifill was the one who looked the most like me. You just didn't really see a brown-skinned Black woman with short hair. I was like, this woman is like me. And so when I saw her in person for the first time in 2015, when I tell you I ran across the street without seeing if a car was coming, I could have got licked down by a car, but I ran to Gwen Ifill with my arms open like, Gwen Ifill, oh my God, I'm such a fan. And she could have been like, get away from me, crazy ass, get away. But instead, she opened her arms, she wrapped me up in a big hug. She recognized me from having been a frequent guest on Melissa Harris Perry's show. So at least she knew I wasn't a stalker. And she gave me a hug and she gave me so many words of encouragement. She was so kind. She was so encouraging. And she was exactly what you would want Gwen Ifill to be. She was really an idol to me. Love her so much. And of course, her cousin, Sherilyn, is equally amazing. And it's like, that's the kind of affirmation that you get that tells you you're doing the right thing, that you're in this business for a reason. And I definitely feel like God put me on this earth to do this, to try to make it make sense for people, this horrible, complicated mess that is our country. And I think, and God put you on this earth for that reason too, Don. And so we got to do what God has instructed us to do.
Look, I borrow from folks, so I borrowed from Bryant Gumbel. I call it borrowing. I borrowed from Wendy Williams. Like, Wendy would sit there and just like sit in her windiness and whatever. You can like her. I
love her. Yeah,
she's very talented. She's a very talented,
one of the best to ever do it
because she was on radio.
Yes,
it was really good. And people don't give her credit because they think, oh, she was a gossip, whatever. And a lot of folks don't like her because she gossiped about them. But just her talent to be able to do what she did, I recognize that. I stole Hot Topics from her. She stole it from borrowed. She borrowed it from Barbara Walters. Who else did? And then I remember Gwen Ifill. I went to, I think it was my first NABJ convention back in the day. And I had this little tape. And I went there to, when you go into the job fair, right?
Yep.
And they review your tape. And she looked at me, she goes, oh my God, you're so good. She goes, how did you learn to read the teleprompter like that? And I was like, Gwen Ifill? She was gassing me up, but she made me feel good like I could do it.
Yeah.
And just the little things, amazing. We have so many people. Remember, we stand on the shoulders of people like her and our ancestors who've been here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Max Robinson and the Bryant Gumbels of the world and the Gwen Ifills of the world.
Yes.
And let's not forget about Sue Simmons. I love
Sue Simmons.
I borrowed Live at 5 from Sue Simmons, by the way. You see what's on the screen, Live at 5. That was from Sue Simmons.
Sue Simmons, baby. And she did. Look, I love her. She's the most fearless DGAF sister in the media business ever. I love her.
Yeah.
Love her.
I love you too. Okay, so catch Joy.
It's a love fest.
JoyAnnReid.com. Substack, and then also her social media. And then make sure you stay tuned. She will be doing something in the digital space, streaming, whether it's YouTube or whatever it is that you're planning.
It's going to be YouTube. I can give you that little tea that it will be on YouTube, because I want people to be able to watch the Don Lemon show and then watch me. But we're going to make sure we stagger it, because we don't want people to have to choose. So, I'm going to avoid the times when you on. We're going to make sure that we stagger.
Yes, do what you do. Establish a relationship with your audience. At first, I was doing 3 episodes a week, canned interviews, and then I said, I want to talk to people. I'm going to do a show in my living room, and I'm going to grow my community. And you will do it. It's different than TV, but you'll see.
Amen. I'm excited about it. I actually am really excited about it. And like I said, I'm keeping one hand out on my team. So if anybody is looking for great producers out there, if you know folks that are hiring, I'm sure they're probably hiring internally too. They'll all be fine. But yeah, I just miss my people. But other than that, I'm very excited about the future.
You can turn the world on with a smile. Who can turn the world on with a smile? Who can take a nothing day? Suddenly make it all seem worthwhile. And you should know. And then at the end, you're gonna make it after all. I love you.
We aged ourselves. The young people are like, what's that?
Just call me Ted Baxter. Okay.
Auntie and Uncle. Uncle Don and Auntie Joy.
Bye, Joy. I love you.
Love you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
The great Joy Reid joining us on the Don Lemon Show, live at 5 on the Lemon Nation. I told you we would get Joy on. How amazing was that? How amazing was that? So, wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching today. And let me just shout out some people. I appreciate you all joining us. I love all the engagement that we've had. Make sure you find Joy. Let me shout out some new members. Velma BG, welcome to the Lemon Nation. Sherry Turner, welcome to the Lemon Nation. Waski, thank you so much for your support. And then all the other folks that I can't see because I'm watching the live feed and I don't see it on the YouTube. So I want to welcome all of the new members. We had so many new members today. Make sure you subscribe as well. The subscribe button is at the bottom of the screen, right next to the Don Lemon Show logo. And thank you for all the folks who, let's see, America Cruz, who gifted 10 memberships because of her generosity. 10 people get to become members of the Lemon Nation. Thank you, Angel. And I said Bella BG as well. We appreciate your love and your support as usual. Okay. So we'll be back here. It feels like a Friday today for some reason. Am I wrong about that, people? Does it feel like a Friday? Yeah. Let's take some comments because we've been waiting. You guys have been waiting to talk to Joy Reid. Now, by the way, look, I'm not hating on anybody. I love the folks at MSNBC. Of course, I love people from CNN. That's my home. That's my home and the best in the business. But and we love the folks at MSNBC. We needed to clear the air for some people, and I needed to support my sister. That's it. So no hate, no nothing for anybody anywhere. But I just I felt like I needed to speak for her a little bit because, hey, that's what I do. Okay, so let's take some, I wish it was Friday, says Monique. Anything you guys want to talk about before I get out of here? Because I sort of have been ignoring you in your comments for a little bit. No, well, don't turn the TV off yet. So anyways, put up some comments so I can respond to them, guys, because they're going by so fast. I cannot do it.
I'm having the same issue, but
they're going by too fast.
Yeah, I don't want to click the wrong one.
It's hard. You can't capture it, right? Because they're moving so fast and it's so many people in there. Yeah, Joy is knowledgeable, says Miss B. She is knowledgeable. Truth hurts sometimes, says Shalama. Don, if you sleep last night, you need weekend naps. Yes, I did not sleep last night. Did we make you proud? Yes. So I told you guys, I didn't tell Joy this. On the 10 a.m. live, I said, don't embarrass me in front of company. We have Joy Reid here this evening. Do not embarrass me. And you guys did not. You did the memberships. You did the thing. You supported us in the chats, in the comments, and you showed her what it was like to build a community and what support that she can get. And you were all here for her. And I appreciate it. So we had Sonny Hostin yesterday, who was amazing. Let's see. Sonny was here yesterday. It was amazing. Let me see if Sonny said if we want to do anything. No. Sonny talked about education and politics. We're good. We played that this morning. I just want to make sure that I got everything I needed to. Donald Trump, I love the poorly educated. Oh, Lord. And then, I wanted to talk to Joy about this. which was Democrats thinking it's 1999. Nah, but we're good. Okay. This is before I'm gonna give you something to laugh at before we get out of here. For those of you who are not on the 10 a.m. call, this is a guy. This is someone who put it on the internet about what a MAGA Jesus would be like. Don't roll it right now. All right, everybody, pay attention. Gather around the TV, or gather around the laptop, or gather around the phone. This is something that you can take into your evening that I think is really, really funny and cute. I hope you see the humor in it. This is MAGA Jesus. Make you play it from the beginning.
Welcomes one of these little ones in my name. Might be letting in a murderer or a drug. Let's get her to a detention center. You know, so we can figure out what's going on. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. And behold, now I'm all lazy and entitled. You shouldn't have done that. Do unto others as you suspect they might want to do unto you. What is a man profited if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? A lot. He has profited a lot. One soul for the whole world, that is an amazing deal. Why do you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye but ignore the plank in your own? Because of her emails. Yes. If a man strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him and shoot him. That is the law. If you want to be perfect, go. Sell all the possessions that you have and give the money to a solid mutual fund. By this, they will know that you are my disciples. That you say, Merry Christmas! Christ! Christmas! That's my name in there, and I put it in there because I wanted it in there so we could all celebrate Big Boy Jesus' birthday time! Okay? Okay.
I'm glad I could do that for you. The luxury brand, or someone, I forget the whole name. Happy birthday to you. Okay. So guys, thank you for all the support today. Appreciate it. And then we're going to see you live tomorrow at 10 a.m. And now, depending on what level of membership you have, we are going to have a private stream for our members who are Lemon. I think it's Lemon Nation and
Lemon Heads and
Lemon Legends. They get to join. All right. So that is the two highest levels of our membership. Private stream. We're going to chat. We'll talk about the Joy interview, other stuff. So I love you guys. Thank you. For those who are not members, we're going to see you at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning live. And if you're on the TikTok, this is for our subscribers only. We're about to go over there. So there we go. So as I say on every stream, before I leave, you guys know, I want to see it in the chat before I leave. What do I say? What do I say to everyone? What do I say to everyone? Let's see who says it first. There we go. You guys are right. Who said it first? Oh, the chat is going so fast. Yes. All right, guys, turn the TV off. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never, ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate